Welcome back to the Pig Trail Show. I'm Evan Kamiko. This is the Hogs Hoops Report. That's Kevin McPherson. Kevin, let's jump right into it. Big win for the Hogs earlier this week. They take down number 7 Duke. What are your thoughts on the win for Eric Musselman's squad?
Well, it was a big win for several reasons. Arkansas was on a 3 losses and 4 game skid coming into that. We know the Bahamas wasn't very kind to the Razorbacks, but also you were playing without your leading scorer and arguably your best player up to that point, Tremont Mark, who was injured in that final game over in the Bahamas. So you needed a win, first of all, to break the skid, but you also needed to find a way to get other players involved because Mark was out. And I thought Arkansas checked a lot of boxes. They were a poor team offensively and defensively in that bad stretch. They corrected a lot of things on both sides of the ball in this game. So I think on many levels, plus when the NCAA net rankings come out, this should stand as a quad 1 win for Arkansas, or at least be one initially. Duke also lost its next game on the road at Georgia Tech over the weekend. So you don't want the Blue Devils to take too much of a slide. It might take a little luster off that, obviously, that top 10 ranking with 3 losses now. We'll see. But anytime you beat the Duke Blue Devils, obviously Arkansas now 3-2 all time against Duke. The other games have been on bigger stages, typically still important. And also it was the first ever ACC SEC challenge. I thought when we look at offense, 17 assists on 26 made field goals. That's nearly 2 out of every 3 shots made that you assisted. The previous 4 games, Arkansas was really poor offensively when you looked at the ball movement and the helpers, the assist. Only 26 assists on 99 made field goals in that 4-game stretch I talked about where you racked up 3 losses. So that was 1 out of 4. So you got easier scores, you got guys more open looks, and your offense plays with more rhythm. Defensively, we know this has been one of Eric Musselman's worst teams, at least out of the gates. When you look at the percentages, the efficiency inside and out defensively, Arkansas held an elite offensive team in Duke, a top 10 according to KenPom. Held that team to 35 plus percent from shooting overall from the field. It was a team coming in with over 50%. And then when you look at the 3-point shooting, a team that was averaging, or his efficiency was at just over 35%. Arkansas held it in the 20s, around 27%. And then Duke, like Arkansas, both teams struggled. Duke shot 1 more free throw, but both teams really struggled at the free throw line. When you look at percentages, Duke 21 of 31. The Hogs not any better at 19 of 30. So it was kind of a draw there, but I thought Arkansas was the better team when you looked at offense. Defense, you start looking at some of those efficiency numbers because on offense, Arkansas shot nearly 50% for the game. And in the second half, 60+% from the field. Really talk about that ball movement, but the efficiency went up in that second half. And Arkansas had built took a 1-point lead at halftime, but built that into multiple double-digit leads in that second half. A couple of times a 14-point lead. We know Duke through that full court trapping press. We'll see what other teams do in similar opportunities with Arkansas, because Arkansas at the end of that game, the last 2 minutes, had a lot of turnovers. Duke was able to get within a 1-possession deficit at one point, 3 points, but Arkansas made a couple of free throws, got a couple of stops, ends up winning that game 80-75. Big win for Arkansas just to get off the mat. Don't really know right now how good this Duke team is, even though the number by its name said it was a top 10 team. By the way, Eric Musselman coached teams at Arkansas, moved to 8-7 in games against top 10 ranked teams now that he's in his 5th year. That's a really strong record, and that's not just at Bud Walton Arena. That's on the road and also neutral sites.
Absolutely, and a big thing about that too is towards the end of the game, Muss showed a lot of trust in Layden Blocker, keeping him out until he put in Devo Davis to fill in that closer role to break the press and really bring home Arkansas this win. All right, moving on to, we'll stick with the Duke game. 2 really big recruits were in-house. Who were they? What was going on, and what was their reaction to that win?
Yeah, you had 3 big time recruits in the house for that game, Evan. A 5-star in the class of 2026, a top 10 guy, 6'7" wing out of Owasso, Oklahoma, Jalen Montanati. Now he's been taking part in Team USA junior national play in the spring and summer. So when you're a highly rated guy, you get those opportunities. But he was in the house. So when you're recruiting big time players, you got to get them on campus at some point. Big win there for Arkansas. And a couple of other guys, as far as getting on campus, not a commitment. I didn't want to say a win, like making people think there was a commitment. And then you had a couple of in-state players that have been on campus before for unofficial visits. Terrion Burgess, class of 2025, 6'9" combo forward out of Benton here in Central Arkansas. He's been to multiple games in the past 2 seasons, including football games. But this guy's a double-double machine. I got to watch him play Friday night, another double-double in a close loss to Springdale Harbor. And then on Saturday, he hit the game winner, a runner from about 4 feet out to knock off a good Farmington team, 60-58, but another double-double, 13 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks in that game, including that game winner. So this is a multiple guy. When you look at that 6'9" frame, he's a 3-4, got some wing skill, can guard, can get down, sit down onto guards and defend. Really like Terrion Burtis. And then Jacob Lanier, going back to class of 2026, here in Maumelle in the Little Rock area once again. 6'6" guard for Maumelle, can play the 1, 2, or 3. Had a big game in the Hot Springs Invitational Championship game on Saturday. 26 points in a nice game. When you start looking at his stats, always puts up rebounding, assist, and steal numbers, but took home the MVP of that event here. Also, Central Arkansas. So he was on campus and then had a big weekend. But those three guys, when you're looking at Arkansas's high school recruiting class in 2024, it's really wrapped up with 2 high school signees. It'll really be mostly about and almost exclusively about the portal moving forward in the spring. That's why getting guys on campus, when you start looking at the future, 25 classes of 25 and 26, specifically right now, it's important. And all of these are high-level guys. I mentioned Burgess and Lanier. Burgess is ranked national top 35 in that class of 2025, so a high-level 4-star, and Lanier's in the top 30 in 2026. And I mentioned Montanati from Oklahoma being a top 10 rated 5-star. Musselman wants to continue to recruit at a high level. You got to get them on campus, and that's what they did for that Duke game. Got to make the most of those opportunities. And then, Arkansas is playing Furman tomorrow. We didn't talk about that, but real quick, I want to go through that just real quick, Evan. This is another really good team when you start looking at it offensively, like Duke, and the similar areas. They are a really high assist team, ranks among the top 20 teams in the country in assists per game. One of the best scoring teams in the country at 82%. I mentioned the assists at 18, but this, unlike Duke, is a team that will turn the ball over, 14.5 turnovers. Arkansas has not been great in the steals department. This might be a perfect opportunity to try to get their defense going in that phase of it, and then also be better in transition. I think the transition defense, despite the win against Duke, continues to be problematic. I think those are 2 areas to look at. Can Arkansas create live ball turnovers, convert those into easy scores? Can they be better in transition defense? And then on offense, can Arkansas continue the trend of moving that ball? They did it for one game and it paid off against Duke. Need to keep that going against a good Furman team. Picked to win the Southern Conference. 28-win team a season ago. Knocked off South Carolina in the regular season last year by 19 points. And then upset 4-seed Virginia in the NCAA tournament as a 13 seed before getting bounced in the round of 32 by eventual national runner-up San Diego State, who Arkansas knocked off in Maui last year. All kinds of connections and ties. That's how it is in sports. But Arkansas needs to get it done against a good Furman team from the same conference of Greensboro that started that 3 losses and 4-game skid for the Hogs just a few weeks ago.
Absolutely. And just to keep in mind too, Kevin, Arkansas already lost to one Southern team in UNC Greensboro this season. So it should be a very interesting matchup at Bud Walton tomorrow night between Arkansas and the Furman Paladins. That's going to do it for your Hog Hoops Report. More Pig Trail Show coming up after the break.